Hi and welcome to another Stampin' Sunday blog hop. Please do check out my blog post and you'll see a list there for all the other participants in this blog hop. So today's theme is Make It Masculine, and I recently purchased this stamp set really with my dad in mind. He's a great veggie gardener and I thought this would make him a lovely card. I'm going to be making 3 cards, one for the beginner crafter, then the second one for the casual crafter, and the third for those who have it all, you avid crafters out there. So I wanted to show how very simply, using one of Stampin' Up's notelet pre-cut and scored pieces of cardstock to make these lovely quick simple cards, you can do a very quick card. I'm going to be using the two colours here, Call Me Clover and Lovely Lipstick. Now these are retiring at the beginning of June, the 2nd of June. However, you can, I think they're in stock, so you can get them now. But if you're watching this in the future, and obviously the deadline is past, then we do have alternate colours that you could purchase. So I just want to get a little strip of tomatoes going down the page there, and a little strip of tomatoes going there like this. Now this stamp set is designed to be a two-step stamping stamp set. Oh my goodness, I think I need a medal for saying that. Right, and so you can stamp your little green stems and, oh, what are they called? Those little things at the tops of tomatoes. They look like stars. You can stamp those down and then you can put your tomatoes afterwards. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And the design of these stamp sets are really lovely. It's like you've watercoloured them yourself and all you've done is stamped. Look at that. The detail on them is incredible. Right, there we go. That's my design done already. And then all you need to do is stamp the sentiment as well. So I've got wishing you there. And then I'm going to put a perfect day underneath there. And I don't think it needs much more than that, to be honest. I want to keep it nice and simple. It's the sort of like quick card. Sorry, I'm just looking for my block. Quick card that you can rustle up in seconds when you know you've got a card to make for somebody. So wishing you a perfect day. We'll do it both in green. There we go. And voila! Card done. How long is this video? Probably, oh there we go, less than 3 minutes long, and already stamped a wee little simple card. So that's just a great technique to show you. Right, the next one I'm going to do a little bit more too. So these note cards measure, I did get my ruler out earlier and measure them, and I did write notes here. Here we go. These measure 5 inches by 3.5. So I've cut a piece of white cardstock, and this measures 3.5 inches tall by 2 inches wide, and then I've cut a matting layer which is literally a 1/8 of an inch wider, so that I can get a really nice tiny border all the way around. So if you want the measurement for that, it's 3 5/8 by 2 1/8. So I'm going to stamp my design onto the piece of white cardstock here, and I love these peas. Look at these, aren't they fabulous? And the detail on them is just exceptional, and I've already got it out somewhere. No, I haven't, it's in there. I mounted some of them up, but not all. There we go. Right, so let's get that on a block. And I just want these peas kind of like all over the place, really. However, I do want to stamp the wishing you a perfect day first, so that I know, actually I'm going to put it that way, so that I know where to place my peas around it. So wishing you a perfect day, ta-da! Then get the peas, and then I know exactly where to kind of place these, because I've already got my sentiment down. And I want it to be very full, so I'm going to try and fit in as many peas as possible here. There we go. Can I get another one in there? There we go. I might even get a little edge of one in there too. I know some of you might be thinking, why is she stamping on a mat? It's getting all mucky. These are so easy to clean up. They're so easy. Right, I'm liking that. Now, I'd like a little bit more detail on there. So I'm actually going to clean off my tomatoes. I know they're looking fairly pinky right now. I'm going to use my stamp cleaning pad, which incidentally is going to be leaving us. Not quite sure why. I think it's a fantastic little tool. It's great at getting especially pinky colours off your stamp pads. Your stamps. Always remember to give them a little bit of a wipe afterwards though, because the chemicals in there, it's not just water, it's some other solution, so you do have to make sure you clean them off after. I think I'd like something very pale just in the background there. So I'm going to grab soft seafoam and just add a little bit of texture. I don't want to add any other stamp sets to this because I like sometimes showing how just one stamp set is enough. And I'm just going to pop in these little, actually they look like little peas that have giant peas, more like marrowfat peas really. But there we go, look, it's got that little pea design going on. It just helps to fill in the white space. There we go. And then, now what about stamping some little peas in the background of my card? So let's just angle these around the card. I'm going to do another layer. I'm going to try and move how I'm positioning this stamp, because otherwise it's going to just repeat rather than having crossovers of the design. There we go. Right, get my matting layer. Pop that down. If you don't like it stamping onto the other side, then you can always mask that area off if you have to. But I don't mind it going onto the back. No one's going to really notice it too much. And I think I'm just going to stick that together, and that's the second card made. And I call this one for the casual crafter because you're more likely to have things like trimmers and extra bits of cardstock and an extra colour. Right, I'm going to make the more avid one now. This is now my card for the avid crafters. It takes a little bit more toolage, maybe a die cutting machine, definitely a die cutting machine, and the stitched so sweetly framelets. It also takes a little bit of fancy folding. Now, this idea is not unique to me. I have completely cribbed it off my dear friend Denise from Ladybug Stampin'. She made a gorgeous card, very feminine card, so this is really interesting, making it go masculine. And so if you don't follow her, I'll put links to her videos in the description below. She's not part of the blog hop, but shh. And so then, right, I'm sorry. I've just distracted myself. Okay, so to cut this, I have adapted the measurements that she gave because she gave them in inches. So if you want the inches sizing, please head over to her. But I have adapted this for centimetres and to also fit our British A4 cardstock. So here we go. Cut your piece of cardstock. Basically kind of in half really, your A4 cardstock. So you cut it to 14.5 centimetres, so this should measure 14.5, and this is your standard 21 centimetres across the top. Really easy. If you're going to make two, don't cut it just yet, you may as well score the whole lot. Then you're going to score at 4.5 centimetres, then 7.5, 13.5, then 16.5, and then you're going to cut a few matting layers. Okay, so these measure 4.5 across here, 3 across here, 6 across there, and obviously 3 and 4.5 there. So we're going to cut these just a 0.5 centimetre less than the actual shape. So basically these lengths are all 14 centimetres, and then so this one is 5.5, this one's 4 centimetres wide, and then this one's 2.5 centimetres wide. And I've cut this using the adorable papers. The name escapes me. Pressed Petals, that's it. I think they're the Pressed Petals suite. And there are some really lovely papers in there. Great for masculine cards. Some really great papers in there for men. Right, so this is not it. There's going to be more. Right, so then cut yourself a piece of cardstock that measures 14 centimetres deep and, because I've done the maths already, 16 centimetres wide. And we're going to do a kind of like mini one-sheet wonder. All right, so I'm sorry, I'm moving stuff around. I've got a mountain of stuff at the side of me. I need to tidy up. So I've got Call Me Clover here, and I've brought it in an extra colour. I've got Garden Green, and I'm going to try and keep this very kind of like tonal greens, lots of greens. And we've got a nice pepper stamp here, and I'm going to stamp that with Garden Green. And I'm just going to kind of like do him kind of randomly across the page, really. Just pop him a few places, and then we're going to fill in with some other images in a second, but we're going to get our peppers in there. And then there is a nice, what's the word? Stamen? Is that the word I want? I think it is. Stamen there. And I'm going to just do that in exactly the same colour. Now, if you wanted to, you could do this in, you know, red peppers and have green stamen. You could do light green peppers and have dark green stamen. You know, you can mix and match it. Now, I'm sorry about this. I'm just putting this in front of me because I cannot for the life of me see what the heck I'm doing. But there we go. Oops. I'm going to have to stand above it. All right, I was trying to do that sitting down. It's nigh impossible to do it sitting down. Oh my goodness, completely missed again. You know what? I'm just going to start again. Right. Da-da, da-da, da, da, da. Right. I wonder if it's all the same colour, and that's what's kind of like throwing me off. But I'm going to try again. I'm going to try my best, honest. Oh my goodness, this is the hardest thing to line up. I have done it before, but when it's a red pepper, it's so much easier. Or like a lighter green. So you might want to do this in a darker green, because you can clearly see the problems I'm having here. But I hope it's going to be worth it. I just want, like I said, just tone on tone. I don't want to be introducing too many crazy colours at this point. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's move on quickly, very quickly. Right, am I going to get a few no, I'm going to keep the tomatoes till later. I've got a bit of a plan for those. I'm going to stamp some peas in here. Now, this is the Call Me Clover. So this is tone on tone stamping. And I do like doing this. It's very classy. You know, you don't get clashes of colour or anything. It's just very nice and easy on the eye. Right, and then shall we try and fit an avocado in here somewhere? Oh, or should we just keep going with the peas? Will it fit in? Might just do. You know what, I'm going to bring in another colour. I think I'm going to go for a bit of hair pizzazz. So it's not too dark, hopefully, and we'll just be happy sitting there in the background. And I kid you not, when I stamp this avocado, I can taste avocados in my mouth. It's the most bizarre thing. The illustration is just so perfect, you know, with the darker skin and the lovely creamy interior. Oh my goodness, what I'd do for an avocado right now. The only thing about buying avocados, though, is that it can be tricky when you buy them, because they can be rock hard, can't they? And then I've done this where I've bought them and thought, okay, I'm going to leave it a few days in my fruit basket, wait for it to ripen up, and then I've waited too long, and I cut into that avocado and it's gone mainly black, and is, you know, I can rescue about half of it, but oh, don't you just hate that? Right, now I've done my background, I fancy doing that little trick that I did earlier with the tomatoes and just adding some background. They're not tomatoes at this point, they are just little blobs of circles of peas, whatever, floating around the vegetables, and it's just to create a bit of added texture floating around the other vegetables. So when my father gets this card, he'll probably go, why have you got blobs floating around? But there we go. Right, so remember to put your ink pads away. We don't want those drying up. And then grab out your trimmer. Ooh, excuse me. And we're going to be cutting this down now. And this is the point where I really can't lose my measurements, because if I make a mistake, I'm done for, because I've very carefully counted this out. Right, so we're going to cut off 3.5 here. Then we're going to cut off 2. Oh, there we go, open that up. 2 centimetres there. Then 5. Then 2, and we should be left with 3 on the other side. Let's see if that happens. Ooh, yep, that's correct. I'll just give it a little wiggle. There we go. Right, everybody. Let's move these. Hold your breath. Count to 20. Let's see if this has worked. So that's got to go on there. Ta-da! Yes! It's worked. That on there, and then that on there, and then that on there. Now, I've pre-cut with the Stitch Sweetly dies 2 of the largest label, because the paper's quite thin. With that DSP pack, you get extra sheets in it, but they're a little bit thinner than normal. And so I'm just going to mount that on there to give it a little bit of substance, because that's going to be sticking in the middle. Then I'm going to stick that over there, and then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to stamp some tomatoes and fussy cut them out? Ugh. Don't panic, I'm not going to make you watch me fussy cut a whole load of tomatoes out, but I will very quickly stamp them now. And hey, let's go for the garden green this time. Last time I used the Call Me Clover, so I think I might just do it a couple of times, just in case, because you know how lining these up, they, you know, you don't have to have a rocket science degree to be able to line them up, but sometimes, you know, someone might call your name and you might just wiggle those tomatoes and you might have to have another go at it. Or, I don't know, a bee might fly into your room and give you a fright. You know? So, or an alarm might go off. I did have to laugh. I was doing a live last night, and I could hear my daughter's alarm going off at 12 o'clock, midnight. Poor child. Somehow, I think I had knocked it over to the ground, and it was going off. Anyway, she's fixed it for tonight. It's not going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly give you a tutorial in fussy cutting. So remember, nice sharp scissors. The Stampin' Up! Stampin' Snips are awesome for this. And if you can, cut down the piece that you're going to cut. You don't want to be having that great big piece of paper flying around. And then move the paper, keep the scissors straight ahead of you, and just move the paper, especially around these kind of like tricky wiggly bits. Move the paper, not the scissors. Right, I'm going to go and carry on doing this, and by the power of video, it's going to be done now. Ta-da! Okay, so it does take a little bit of patience to cut out the little tomatoes, and this is a quick little tip for you. When you get to this portion here and you need to cut out, you see that little section there, cut around this tomato and the stamens and just get in there, cut it out, and then when we stick this back together, no one will ever know. Okay, now while I was doing that, I also cut out some little peas, and I also stamped this stamp here. I did 3 third generation stamping, so this is lovely lipstick stamped twice, and then that's a faded off version, and then stamped wishing you in the middle with some green. And then I grabbed the fabulous Well Said. This is a great stamp set if you want, you know, lots of sentiments in one go. And I stamped Happy Father's Day, and I'm going to keep it. Hopefully he's not going to see this before Father's Day in June. We celebrate it in June in the UK. Right, so let's start putting it all together. So I've got my Tombow here, and I've also got some of the darker dimensionals, because this is a darker card. I thought it would be good to use those. So let's start putting all this together. And you know what? You probably don't want to watch me putting all the panels together, so I'll come back after I've done that too. I'll just stick this one on there. Okay, so as I said, this just makes this one nice and sturdy, because otherwise that paper will be flip-flopping around. Right, I'll be back in a mo. Right, so I've gone ahead and put on the dimensionals onto my little pieces, and I've stuck my 2 layers together. Now, I initially envisaged putting my kind of central focal point at the top, but I've realised that I'm actually going to be missing out on my 2 little avocado there. So I'm going to lower it slightly so I can see, you know, a bit of the pepper, a bit of the avocado, and the peas there. So bear that in mind, you know, when you're perhaps making something and, you know, there's an element of unsurety about, you know, where things are going to lie. It's okay to change your mind, you know, as long as the overall effect works out, it doesn't matter. Right, I've just realised I've probably put a little bit too much glue on the side there. Let me just check the width of that. So I'm just getting a scrap piece of paper. I'm just going to pull in that glue from the side there. And just put that there, and then I'm going to pull in that bit there. So if it does go over, I'm not going to panic. I've got a glue rubber that I can use to take off the excess afterwards. Right, so I'm going to pop that on there, just eyeballing it so I can see it's in the middle. Now, I forgot to say from the beginning that this card makes a really cool kind of like fancy fold stand-up card. Denise called it something. I can't remember what she called it. I'm sure it's not unique to Denise either. She probably saw it somewhere else. But I really love the way that it kind of like pops out. So, and also stands up. It's just a really interesting kind of like way of standing up a card. Right, so I've got those pieces on, and I've already had a little play with where I'm going to position things. So I've decided that my Happy Father's Day is going to go approximately there. Everything's sticking to me now. Where's my happy? And I want to get my peas in here, just on the side there like that. So then I've got wishing you to go above the happy, like that. And then my Father's Day is going to go underneath the happy. And then I'm going to pop my tomatoes, just draping. Now I've got to make sure it doesn't cover up anything that I've already done, so it's worth having a little play with how this is going to be positioned. But there we go. I might put an additional dimensional underneath that tomato because I wasn't quite sure how it was going to fall, so I didn't do it earlier. I'll pop that there. And so you've got this lovely kind of like focal point with all your little bits and pieces cut out, and then carrying on the kind of the vegetable theme through then to the tone on tone cardstock in the background that, you know, the stamped cardstock that you've done. So what a cute card. I'm really pleased how that's turned out, and I just hope that after seeing this you'll go, oh, that stamp set's a bit interesting. I can see lots of uses for that. Now, obviously, there are lady gardeners, you know, who might appreciate this stamp set too. So it's not just for the men, but I'm going to bring back, oh, I need to go and finish this, oops. Bring back the other cards that I made earlier, and just show you, you know, if you don't have fancy things to cut out, you could probably still achieve a lot of this actually, even if you don't have these framelets, because you could just cut a rectangle or a square, and as long as it protrudes a little bit, I think the design really helps when you've got something that sort of sticks out a bit. So this is for, as I said, a casual crafter who have a few extra nifty bits, like a trimmer, but you know, if you've got scissors you can do this. And then I've just got to find the first one that I did. She says somewhere here, the nice tomatoes. So there we go, stepped up cards. 1, 2 and 3. Do let me know which one you like. I do know that there are some of you out there who like clean and simple cards, so you may prefer the first two. And then of course this one, which is a little bit more detailed, but well worth it, especially if you're giving it to your daddy. Right, take care. Please do check out the blog hop, and the link will be below to my blog, and you'll be able to get to see everybody else's creations for this masculine themed blog hop. Take care for now. Bye.